pre-dawn mist clung to the thatched rooftops of Oakhaven as Alec awoke. He savored these quiet moments before the village stirred to life. Sitting up on his straw-stuffed mattress, Alec rubbed the sleep from his eyes and stoked the embers in the soot-stained hearth. The familiar scent of wood smoke filled his small but cozy room in the stable loft. After boiling water for tea and breaking his fast with a chunk of crusty bread, Alec headed downstairs to ready the horses for the long day of work ahead. He smiled as his favorite horse, a dapple-gray mare named Willow, nickered a greeting. "Good morning to you too, girl," Alec said, affectionately scratching the spot between her ears that always made her lips twitch. After feeding and grooming Willow, Alec led her and the other horses into the paddock to graze. Lingering at the fence, he watched as the village slowly emerged from slumber. Wisps of chimney smoke curled into the pearly dawn sky. A dog barked, joined by the distant call of a rooster. Before long, Oakhaven would be bustling with villagers starting their daily routines. But Alec cherished this transitional hour between night and day, when the world seemed suspended between dreams and wakefulness. The very air seemed alive with possibility. Some mornings, like today, the mist swirled strangely, carrying sounds from across the valley, glimpses of lights in the forest, echoes of voices chanting words he could almost understand. Of course, when he tried to focus on these odd sensations, they dissolved like smoke, leaving him wondering if he had imagined it all. After checking the horses one last time, Alec grabbed an apple from the barrel by the paddock and took a big, crisp bite. The tart juice and sweetness of the fruit burst across his tongue. Willow nickered at him from across the fence, no doubt hoping for a treat. "Sorry, girl, but this one's mine," Alec said with a grin. He headed down the winding forest path leading out of the village, crunching his apple. This trail wove between massive oak, ash, and elm trees that towered like sentinel giants along the path's edges. Alec had walked this shaded forest road more times than he could count, playing among these gentle woods as a child and exploring their secrets. He could navigate these trees in his sleep. Alec smiled up at the rustling leaves, branches swaying hypnotically overhead. Sunlight filtered through the canopy in dappled patches, dotting the path before him in shifting mosaics of light and shadow. The forest seemed to welcome him, as it always did, humming with life. Birds flitted from tree to tree, fluttering wings stirring the cool morning air. Mushrooms and moss carpeted the roots and rocks alongside the path. His feet carried him along the trail, steps certain from memory. About a mile from the village, Alec arrived at the fork in the path. One trail continued along the valley floor towards the lake. The other cut a steep climb up the slope of the hill and into denser woods. Alec usually took the lower trail to the lake this time of morning. But today something drew him upwards, off his normal route. The day felt different, charged somehow, like the air before a lightning storm. Glancing both ways along the empty path, Alec felt a strange, tingling rush through his body. With no one around to ask questions, Alec gave into his odd impulse and started up the hillside trail. The canopy grew denser overhead, filtering the morning light into scattered beams that gave the forest an otherworldly feel. Alec slowed his pace, boots crunching softly on the carpet of leaves and twigs. Every sense seemed heightened. He inhaled the rich, loamy scents of earth and moss, listened to the whispered rustle of leaves in the breeze. It reminded him of the old tales he'd heard as a child, legends of magical creatures who dwelled in the ancient woods, fairies that could appear and vanish at will, speaking in lilting songs no human understood, mystics who could conjure fire and light, reading thoughts and glimpsing the future. Of course, these were just stories, fanciful myths meant to entertain. Alec shook his head, amused at himself for indulging such childhood fancies. But despite his skepticism, the hushed reverence of this forest seemed to cast an almost magical spell. Around a sharp bend in the trail, he came across an enormous ash tree, its trunk split and hollowed by some long-ago lightning strike. Alec approached and reached out his hand, resting it against the smooth inner bark. He closed his eyes, feeling the thrum of life within the great tree. Suddenly, Alec felt the tree's energy shift beneath his palm. His eyes flew open as an uncanny warmth flowed up his arm and spread across his body in a tingling rush. The forest around him faded before his eyes, dissolving into opaque mist. Heart pounding, Alec staggered back from the tree and looked wildly around. But there was only fog, swirling, luminous, and thicker than he'd ever seen. "Hello?" Alec called out, his wavering voice muffled by the heavy mist. He reached towards where he thought the trail had been, but his hands grasped only air. He spun around, searching for any familiar landmark, but there was nothing visible in the strange glowing fog that surrounded him. Alec's breath quickened, his skin prickling with unease. He was utterly lost and disoriented. For several panicked moments, he blundered blindly through the mist, hands held out before him, listening desperately for the sound of the stream or bird song to guide him. But he heard only the rapid pounding of his heart and his ragged breaths echoing around him. Finally, Alec forced himself to stand still and slow his breathing. Panic would only make this worse. The mist still glowed with ethereal light, giving the featureless void an eerie beauty. As his pounding heart settled, Alec noticed the glowing tendrils swirl and drift as if moved by some unfelt wind. The opalescent fog eddied around him, no longer confining but caressing. Somehow its touch soothed his lingering fear. Gradually the mist began to thin and dissipate. Alec watched in awe as the fog evaporated to reveal an astonishing landscape. Mighty trees unlike any he had ever seen soared hundreds of feet overhead, trunks glimmering silver, leaves shading from emerald to sapphire, lush ferns and luminous flowers in shades no earthly bloom could possess swayed over the verdant forest floor. Alec turned slowly, taking in the alien splendor surrounding him. Though geographically implausible, he knew instinctively that this was his forest, somehow made new and wondrous. A gentle prodding on the edges of his consciousness jolted Alec from his dazed appreciation. He turned, searching for the source of this mental touch. There, just visible through the exotic underbrush, stood a curious creature, somewhat deer-like in form, but with intelligent eyes and a single ivory horn spiraling from its brow. It stared directly at him, radiating a sense of calm welcome. Unsure what else to do, Alec inclined his head in greeting. The creature mirrored his gesture, then, in the blink of an eye, vanished noiselessly into the strange and beautiful forest. Alec blinked, wondering if he had just imagined the extraordinary creature, when suddenly the brambles before him once again began to stir. Alec watched, frozen in fascination, as the shimmering air coalesced into solid form, taking the shape of an impossibly tall and slender being. He wore a silvery tunic that shimmered like moonlight on water, his pale skin and sharply pointed ears marking him as something far from human. Ancient amber eyes regarded Alec with interest, tinged by amusement. "Well met, young traveler." The being addressed him in a voice that reminded Alec of wind chimes. "We have awaited your arrival for some time. I know you have many questions. My name is Eldinar, and I welcome you. Please, come with me. There is so much yet for you to discover." Eldinar extended his thin hand towards Alec. Alec hesitated, wondering if this was truly real, or if the magical fog had cast some illusion upon his mind. But Eldinar's gaze held no malevolence, only patient understanding. Alec's trepidation faded. Trusting his instincts, he reached out and took the offered hand. Eldinar smiled, his angular features softening. Then he turned, guiding Alec forward into the heart of the unseen kingdom, further from the world he knew than he could possibly have imagined. Alec followed Eldanar along a shimmering path through the ancient trees. Their mighty trunks towered hundreds of feet into the violet sky, silver bark reflecting the soft, glowing light that filtered down through luminous emerald leaves. Lush ferns and alien flowers carpeted the forest floor, a living tapestry in shades found nowhere in Alec's world. Tiny winged creatures flitted among the exotic blooms, leaving trails of glittering pollen in their wake. The very air seemed alive with ancient magic. As they went, Eldanar explained that this unseen realm had long been hidden from mortal eyes. But the time had come for the veil to lift, allowing chosen souls to cross between worlds. The forest welcomed Alec as one whose destiny was intertwined with its own. Eldanar led Alec towards a circle of the tallest trees. "What you are about to see, few have witnessed," he said solemnly. "This sacred grove contains portals to a multitude of worlds beyond imagining." At Eldanar's touch, the gleaming bark of one tree rippled, revealing an opening. Alec gasped. Beyond lay a rugged landscape of soaring peaks with an orange sky swirling with lavender clouds. Creatures much like winged lions circled the alien mountains. "Each tree conceals a gateway," Eldanar explained, "but they must not be entered lightly, lest the portals fracture." Alec shuffled nervously. "Why have you brought me here?" Eldanar turned, his amber eyes piercing. "Yours is no chance arrival. An ancient prophecy foretells one from your world whose fate is linked to this realm, one who may traverse the portals when the alignment comes." Alec stared. Him? Linked to this magical place by prophecy? It seemed impossible, yet somehow deeply right. Eldanar smiled. "Do not fear. All will become clear in time." He gestured to an emerald tree, whose surface shimmered invitingly. Drawn by instinct, Alec reached out and touched the silver bark. It melted away to reveal a vista of lush meadows and hills, crowned by a magnificent rainbow-hued city unlike any Alec had seen. Mesmerized, he stepped forward. A hand grasped Alec's shoulder, pulling him firmly back. Eldanar's expression had hardened. "Not yet," he admonished. "The time of alignment is near, but not upon us. The portals must remain sealed." Alec flushed, chastened by his rashness. "Forgive me," he stammered. "I don't yet understand any of this." Eldanar's stern look softened. "Stay true to your heart," he counseled. "Your role will be revealed when the time is right." He waved a hand, and the portals shimmered out of sight, once more cloaked by unbroken silver bark. As they turned back along the forest path, Alec's mind swirled with questions, but he sensed Eldanar's patience. When the alignment came, Alec knew he must be ready to fulfill his mysterious destiny wherever it led. For now, it was enough to walk beside his guide beneath the whispering trees of the unseen kingdom. The portals would wait, sealed until the foretold hour of his arrival. Far from the shimmering groves where Alec walked with Eldanar, the news of the mortal's arrival in the unseen kingdom had reached unwelcome ears. In a cavernous citadel, carved into the side of a great basalt mountain, the sorcerer Crotan sat upon his profane throne and swirled a goblet of blood-red wine, brooding in the flickering torchlight. His sharp features hardened as his informant, the impish spy Galdren, related the tale. "Tell me again of this boy," Crotan demanded in his serpentine voice. Galdren wrung his clawed hands. "As you wish, sire. He is called Alec, a simple stable boy from the mortal realm. He crossed into the mists by chance, yet now walks with Eldanar as if he belongs." Crotan's eyes narrowed. Does Eldanar speak of prophecies? Does this child have potential? So it seems, though his true nature remains shrouded, Galdrin said. The sorcerer rose from his throne and paced before the cavern wall, where mystical symbols pulsed with crimson light. I must learn more of this Alec. He may prove useful. From within his midnight robes, Crotan drew out an amulet carved from the tooth of a dragon. He held it aloft and imbued it with a whispered enchantment. Now, my pet, Crotan purred, fly swift and unseen. Latch on to the boy's essence. Lead him here to me. With an arcane word, the amulet transformed into a living creature, a viper-like serpent with wings of smoke. It hissed once and then flew from the cavern to do its master's bidding. Crotan returned to his throne, sipping his wine thoughtfully. This news intrigued him. The boy was insignificant, yet potentially a valuable pawn. The time of the alignment approached, when the gates between mortal and magical realms would open. The prophecy spoke of one who might seal the portals forever, but Crotan had darker plans for the infinite power beyond. If this Alec could be enticed to pierce the veils early, Crotan could harness the magic within the realms for his own before all was lost. Yes, the boy may prove exceptionally useful. All it required was the right whispered promise, the faintest hope. And the sorcerer knew well how to spin such deception. The darkness in men's souls was easy to unlock. Soon, Alec would seek him out, and the true machinations could begin. Crotan smiled coldly. The unseen kingdom's fate would soon tip into shadow. Alec followed Eldanar through the ancient forest, marveling at the wonders surrounding him. Luminous, iridescent birds swooped between jeweled trees. Flashes of silver marked swift riverfolk darting through crystal streams. Enchanting music drifted on the soft breeze. Whether from wind chimes or lilting voices, Alec could not tell. This realm held magic beyond his most fanciful dreams. Yet lingering unease cast faint shadows amidst the beauty. Whispers Eldanar left unexplained, portals sealed for unclear reasons. There seemed more to this place than met the eye. Sensing Alec's disquiet, Eldanar turned. "Speak your mind," he urged gently. "Your questions are natural for one so new to this realm." Halting beneath a spreading azure oak, Alec gave voice to his misgivings. "You speak as if I have some destined role here. But I'm no one special, just a humble stable boy. What could I possibly have to do with this powerful magic?" Eldanar smiled. "Within you resides a strength you have yet to embrace. Each soul contains worlds waiting to unfold." From his tunic, he drew out an ancient scroll. Unfurling it, motes of golden light drifted upward as if released from the crackling parchment. "This scroll tells of one from your world, whose coming was foretold long ago, one who will unlock the secrets of the alignment." Eldanar's eyes bored intensely into Alec's. "You crossed the misty veil between realms for a reason. It is no accident of fate that you stand before me now." Alec trembled. Him? Part of some grand magical destiny? It seemed impossible, yet Eldanar's steadfast gaze brooked no doubt. "If it is true, tell me what I must do," Alec implored, knees weak. Eldanar rolled the scroll closed. "All will be revealed soon. For now, know that you were chosen as a guardian of this realm. Trust in your evolving path." The forest seemed to still around them, holding its breath, awaiting Alec's choice. Eldanar watched, eyes filled with knowing patience. Alec's mind reeled, but his heart knew the truth. "I am ready," he whispered. Eldanar smiled, aura glowing brighter. "Then let us continue." He gestured, and the scroll vanished into sparks. Turning, he led the way deeper into Destiny's embrace. Alec drew a deep breath and followed, a new sense of purpose guiding his steps. Alec followed Eldanar along a winding path through the ancient forest. As they went, Eldanar wove tales of eras long past when the unseen kingdom thrived under the stewardship of immortal beings. Yet over eons, their numbers dwindled. Many withdrew to distant realms, while others mysteriously faded from existence. Only Eldanar remained, sentinel of this forgotten domain. As the silver trees gave way to a vast clearing, Alec gasped. Before him lay the crumbling ruins of a once grand citadel, turrets clawing at the violet sky. Vines curled around collapsed columns, and moss claimed the cracked steps. "Behold the fortress of my people," said Eldanar, eyes dark with memory. "Here we nurtured the ancestral portals, facilitating travel between infinite worlds." Reverently, they roamed the ruins. Symbols of power long forgotten adorned the walls. Whispers clung to the ancient stones, echoes of languages unspoken for millennia. What knowledge had been lost here? Alec shivered at the palpable sense of vanished eternity. Deep within the citadel lay a vast hall dominated by a luminous pool. Its surface swirled with images of strange lands and stranger creatures, a window to myriad realms. Eldanar sighed heavily. The seeing pool. In this chamber, my kin foretold prophecies and monitored the alignment. Alec peered closer, mesmerized by the visions. Then he saw his own face gazing back at him and recoiled. How could he be trapped within this magical pond? Eldanar placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. "As I said, you have a greater purpose here. Your coming was foreseen and depicted in these waters." His eyes were full of meaning. Alec's mind reeled. "Then you knew this would happen? You waited for me?" "Since before your first breath, we awaited the boy from beyond the mist, the guardian who would restore balance." Eldanar smiled. "Welcome home, Alec." Home. This place he had never known, yet felt bound to. Destiny called to him from these ancient stones. Alec may not comprehend the mysteries of past or future, but knew with sudden certainty that he belonged here. This was where his true journey began. Alec returned Eldanar's smile, fears vanishing. "Tell me what I must do." Eldanar led Alec to a soaring stone tower rising from the ancient forest. Within lay a vast, circular chamber with intricately carved walls. Each section displayed creatures and landscapes from distinct realms of existence. In times of need, the Guardian may call allies from their worlds to stand together, Eldanar explained. But the realms have grown insular and mistrustful over the eons. He gave Alec a meaningful look. Alec's stomach twisted with apprehension, understanding the unspoken request. As newly awakened Guardian, this duty fell to him. Could he really rally these distant factions? Sensing his unease, Eldanar squeezed his shoulder. The allies have forgotten their bonds over time and trial, but the light still flickers if you give it kindling. He gestured to an ornate bas-relief, depicting a motif of varied but linked rings. Remind them of the strength forged through unity. Taking a deep, bracing breath, Alec focused his thoughts on the allies. The carvings resonated as he connected with each realm in turn. The resolute mountain folk, fierce winged warriors, spectral sea people, and the elusive star-eyed mystics felt the call stir in their hearts. Gradually, answering shimmers filled the chamber as portals opened and the allies arrived in orderly procession. Alec trembled, but stood tall and strong. Welcome. Though we gather as strangers, our fates are woven as one. He spoke of the sorcerer's emerging threat and the necessity for all worlds to stand together or suffer alone. Expressions hardened at the news of shadow spreading, but skepticism lingered. The elder star-eyed mystic spoke gravely. Your words seem just, but we have been sundered too long. What can reforge broken ties? Alec pointed to the symbol of unity. Though we seem different, our elements combine to make something greater. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as understanding dawned. One by one, the allies came forth in friendship. The mystics conjured glowing spheres that bobbed gently as ephemeral guides. The mountain folk offered sturdy shields carved from basalt. The winged warriors gifted razor-tipped spears and keen eyes for distant threats. And the sea people presented pearly scales, infused with their healing magic. Moved by their generosity, Alec bowed deeply in gratitude. Together, we cannot fail. The allies cheered, rekindled fellowship burning brightly. Alec tallied their weapons and felt hope swell. Perhaps they did have a chance to turn back the coming darkness after all. Alec stood atop the inner battlements of the ancient fortress, gazing out at the army assembled below. Winged warriors wheeled through shafts of sunrise, their spear tips flashing. Mystics levitated massive boulders with star-bright magics. Mountain folk held aloft axes and hammers, faces stony and resolute. Oceans of allies stretched as far as he could see, prepared to defend this realm with their lives. Yet doubt gnawed at Alec's heart. Were they truly ready to withstand Crotan's sinister forces? His cruel sorcery held dominion over spirits of darkness, shimmering wraiths, smoldering fiends, specters that chilled the soul. Even now, the sorcerer's army encroached upon the forest, clawing closer despite the allies' efforts to force them back. Eldanar approached, placing a steadying hand on Alec's shoulder. You carry a great burden for one so young, but we stand united behind you. Alec nodded, gathering his courage. As guardian, leadership fell to him now, unchosen, yet unavoidable. A thunderous boom resounded, and the trees at the edge of the woods began to topple, cut down by shadow magics. Crotan's army flooded the clearing in a tide of living nightmares. War cries rang out as the Alliance surged forth, crashing into the dark forces in a bone-shaking fury. Chaos erupted. Arrows whistled overhead and fireballs streaked like comets through the sky. The screams of clashing warriors mixed with shrieks from ghoulish horrors. Yet the allies stood fast, bonded by their devotion. As the battle raged, Alec closed his eyes, drawing power from the forest. Through his feet echoed the whispers of the ages, his destiny resonating with the realms. When his eyes opened, they blazed with azure light. Raising his hands, Alec summoned a shield around the fortress. Iridescent waves of energy rippled outward, scattering the encroaching darkness. The allies let out exultant cheers at this renewed protection. Crotan's forces withdrew, but Alec knew they would regroup. For now, hope endured. Sending a prayer of thanks to the spirits of the unseen kingdom, Alec prepared for the wars yet to come. In the wake of the last brutal battle, Alec walked among the allied camps tending to the wounded. Though they had repelled the enemy for now, many good souls had been lost. Despair hung heavy over the survivors. Kneeling beside a fallen mountain warrior, Alec placed a hand on his cracked basalt arm. Concentrating, he channeled the essence of the forest into the fissures, sealing them with roots and moss. The warrior flexed his mended limb in awe. My thanks, Guardian. But Alec knew such small acts of healing were not enough. Crotan's forces would return, black magic making them ever stronger while sapping the allies' life force. They needed a new way to fight. Retreating to the silence of the woods, Alec sank into deep meditation. The song of the realm rose around him, whispered wisdom piercing his consciousness. He saw then the path to victory. It lay not in brute force, but in unity. Each ally was a thread, disparate, yet stronger woven as one. Alec gathered the allies to the stone ring where he first forged their alliance. I have walked the ancient groves and heard the realm's wisdom. Victory lies not in striking harder, but in binding closer. He summoned his magic, spinning light between his hands like streamed stars. We must blend our essence into an unbreakable whole. Alec released the shimmering magic to envelop each ally in turn. As sea folk, mystics, warriors, and mountain-kin were fused, they shone with radiance, voices raised in the shared song of life, new-found yet ancient. When the light receded, before Alec stood not a fraying coalition, but a seamless living shield. Diverse yet united, they resonated with the power of the unseen realm itself. "We are ready," Alec said, magic thrumming through his veins. "Now Croton will face our unified strength." The collected army cheered, the forest shaking with the force. Long sundered, they stood as one, spirits soaring at the promise of victory on the horizon. The realm had spoken, and they had listened. Together, they would endure. Crotan's forces rallied with unholy speed, shadows creeping once more towards the fortress. But Alec stood ready at the head of his shining army, magic thrumming in his veins. As the dark tide surged into the clearing, he raised his staff high. "Now we fight as one!" His voice rang out as he summoned their combined power. The allies linked life forces, melding into a singular striking force. They crashed into the shadows like the shimmering edge of a tidal wave, scattering stinking wraiths and fiery fiends. Yet still, the enemy kept coming, Crotan hurling vile magics down upon the shining guardians. Alec wove a dome of light, shielding his forces from the sorcerer's dark bolts. Gathering his strength, Alec focused the allies' power into a blinding beam of energy that sliced towards Crotan's stronghold. Stone exploded in a smoking shower as the mountain fortress ruptured. The flash momentarily blinded all present, heralding the fall of the sorcerer's reign. When the dust settled, the allies gazed in awe upon the demolished citadel. Crotan scrambled over the ruins, robes tattered, eyes wild. "You have won nothing, foolish boy," the sorcerer snarled. "As long as darkness lingers in men's hearts, my power will rise again." Alec stepped forward, magic still blazing around him. "Yet you shall trouble this realm no more." He raised his staff, and Crotan dissolved into ashes, blown away by a sudden wind. A cheer went up from the allies. Alec stood long in the fading light, looking out over the damaged forest. Much work would be needed to heal the scars. But the war was ended. The realm, and all worlds beyond, were safe. His destiny fulfilled, Alec finally knew peace. In the weeks following the war's end, Alec walked often among the whispering trees of the unseen realm. Though vestiges of shadow still lurked, the forest sang anew with life and hope. The portals shone once more, conduits to infinity, now safeguarded. Yet Alec felt the gentle pull of his homeworld, that humble village nestled in its own ancient woods. His journey here had transformed him utterly. The realm's magic flowed through his veins, his destiny woven into its very fabric. But the boy who stumbled wide-eyed into this land of myth remained within him too. The mortal soul destined to bridge realms, earthy roots still binding him. He missed the simple joys that once defined him, dappled mornings with drowsy horses, apples plucked straight from the barrel, meandering walks along familiar trails. So it was that Alec stood before Eldinar, gratitude in his eyes but longing in his heart. "My friend," he said, "I cannot express what I owe to your teachings, but my path now leads back through the mists, to live the ordinary life foreseen for me." Eldinar smiled, deep understanding in his ageless gaze. "Your destiny lies within, wherever your footsteps carry you. Go with our blessings, Alec. Your home and haven await." The scent of wood smoke greeted Alec as he crossed back through the veil. Home. He breathed it in, tears pricking his eyes. The forest welcomed him in dawn's hushed symphony. Alec made his way along the winding trail, feet remembering each root and stone. The village gate emerged from the dissolving mist, familiar and yet somehow new. Transformed by magic but wed to earth, Alec stepped forward into harmony. His impossible journey had circled back to the beginning.
Thank you very much for listening. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this story. Subscribe if you loved it.